if you, for example, wanted to travel from beautiful Malig in the west of Scotland to London, if you miss the 3 minutes past 6 tomorrow morning, so a day ahead of the strike, you're going to have to wait an entire week. That's how effective the strike is being. And this is with ScotRail not actually being part of the dispute. The main impact is because Network Rail signallers are going to be on strike, and that's why half the network is closed. And actually in Scotland and Wales, it's far worse than in England. So nothing north of Falkirk in Scotland or west of Glasgow on the strike days, which is Tuesday the 21st, Thursday the 23rd, Saturday the 25th. And in Wales, nothing west of Cardiff or north of Merthyr Tydfil will be running on those strike days.
So when you see these maps that there are in a lot of the papers showing which routes are sort of open and which are closed, one thing I noticed, because I look at keenly, is that the West Coast Main Line, the East Coast Main Line are sort of operational, but they're still not going to be worth the risk.
Very much, Stephen, the mantra is do not travel unless you absolutely have to. Now, of course, there are millions of people who do absolutely have to. Yeah. They're frontline workers, they're in health, they're in schools, whatever they're doing, they've got to get where they need to be. And, of course, lots of people want to travel to visit loved ones, go to medical appointments, all sorts of things.
Well, they just want to work.
Yes.
I mean, they'll lose a day's pay if they don't.
So I am pretty confident that there will, on those specific lines, and I can run through what they are, few lines down to Kent, in particular, High Speed 1, main line to Gatwick and Brighton, to Southampton via Winchester. Then on the west, on the Great Western region, you can get to Exeter, even Plymouth, plus Bristol and Cardiff. West Coast Main Line going up to Birmingham, Manchester, some trains to Glasgow. Midland Main Line, so Sheffield, Derby, all the way down to London, that's good. And then LNER on its East Coast Main Line. Trains will be running from Edinburgh via Newcastle and Yorkshire down to London. So on the strike days, there will be trains. It will be mostly between 7:30 in the morning and 6:30 in the evening. And certainly if you were planning a long intercity journey, well, you could find that the last train of the day is sort of 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But there will be ways to travel if you absolutely need to.
But in terms of getting around this is why it all seems like a perfect storm, doesn't it? Because we've got all these problems on the rails. So if you want to drive, well, the roads are presumably going to be chock-a-block. Yes. And if you ever think of flying anywhere, whether it's in between cities in the UK or going abroad, you're facing even more problems.
Well, yes, I was so interested in your discussion about what's happening in terms of flight chaos, if we can touch on that, because absolutely there is the idea around that everything is in total chaos. In fact, the vast majority of people, whether they're turning up today at one of the UK airports or they're booked to travel in July or August, they will fly absolutely as normal. They'll have a lovely holiday. Yeah, there might be a 1 hour delayed departure. You might be queuing up at the UK Border Force for longer than you thought and have to wait ages for your luggage. And that's a nuisance, but ultimately you'll get your holiday. There are some really key pinch points, of which the most significant is EasyJet at Gatwick, with the large number of cancellations there. And that's why Gatwick on Friday suddenly said to the airlines, but it really had EasyJet in its sights, you've got to reduce your flights, so start cancelling now so that we have a manageable summer. So I'm confident about aviation, but of course, travelling around the UK this week, you try and get a flight between Edinburgh or Glasgow and London, it's going to cost you £1 million. I exaggerate, but only slightly.
But what, they're allowed to just do that, are they? Because demand is high, they just put up the price?
Well, it's a market. It's a market, Anne. And look, if you artificially say, OK, nothing more than £100, how are you going to allocate this scarce economic resource? If you say it's £500, then only people who are absolutely desperate will pay. I'm afraid that's capitalism for you. I didn't invent it, but that's the reality.
Can I just ask you about Terminal 2 at Heathrow and the baggage situation?
Yeah.
Because explain to us in a reasonably succinct way what goes on. I mean, it must be an incredibly complex electronic system, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. I've got the statement here from Heathrow, so let's just put you in the picture, OK? When they built Terminal 2 at a cost of £2 billion, the very first thing they put in was the baggage system. That absolutely
That's the arteries of the whole system.
It is, yes. So it's like the bloodstream of the place. If that goes, as they say, I'm sorry, in the aviation industry, tango uniform, then you're in some trouble. And it did on Friday. And Heathrow Airport says, yes, there was a fault with the outbound bag system. So these weren't people coming back in, but lots of bags were left behind. They are gradually being reunited with people. And it's one of those things where if it happened just in a normal summer, you'd think, oh, that's not very good, and people having to wait and everything. By the way, of course, you should always assume that any bag you ever check in on any flight, you're never going to see again. I mean, the overwhelming chances are you are, but you do not put anything in there that that you can't do without forever. And they say, yeah, it was a problem, working closely with the airlines to reunite passengers with their baggage, and just kind of one of those things. And to some extent, it was just one of those things, although jolly annoying if you were one of the people affected.
So I was saying a couple of minutes ago, surely the best thing would be to do is travel now, pack really light and cabin baggage only.
Oh.
But maybe if you do want to put something in the hold, just assume you might lose it. And
yes.
take on board what you can do.
Yeah, particularly things like prescription medicines you need and so on.
And a basic a couple of outfits or something. Yeah.
Yes, or
cabin
a T-shirt.
Baggage. Yeah, T-shirt and shorts.
T-shirt. Yeah, that's all you need.
You see that
bucket and spade.
That's a female perspective compared to a male perspective, because it never occurred to me to put any clothes in my hand luggage.
No, quite. But
you always take an outfit. What if something happens?
But look, I was hearing the stories earlier about arriving 4 hours early and just having to run to the gate. There were really big problems at Manchester Airport a few weeks ago. Those now have been solved. Everything in and out of Manchester seems to be running pretty well. And actually, if you're watching this and you think, "Ooh, crikey, I've got a flight at lunchtime, I'm going to turn up 5 hours early," you will absolutely guarantee that you're going to catch that flight. But you could stop Stephen catching his flight because he's turned up 2 hours beforehand, which is really what you need to allow.
Oh, right.
And I've been stuck in a few queues. So Gatwick on Friday, that was maybe half an hour max. It took me 40 minutes to get through Glasgow security, but those are the sorts of...
Don't they see you now? You've got such a recognisable face. Don't they see you and wave you through? Oh, it's Simon Calden.
No, absolutely not. But look, I used to frisk people at Gatwick Airport. It was a job, not a hobby.
Not a hobby.
Yeah. You were saying, can't they... You were saying, can't they just get lots more people to do it? Well, you can do, except you've got to be security cleared, and that is what's taking an absolute age. I was hoping to get my old job back, but...
You don't need your old job back.
No.
You're doing this one fine, thank you very much. I don't know where we'd be without you.
No, I don't. Actually, it's a voice of reason every time. Simon, thank you very much indeed.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.